Hello, Awesome Soul here, and I am here to bring you some more Robocraft news. This time we have some very game-changing news. A lot of it, actually, which is actually fairly interesting because they are actually going into full release sometime in July. At least that's their previous plan, and the way they've stated that before, it certainly sounds like that is set in stone. So it's very interesting to see them making these kind of massive game-changing, well, changes, coming so close to the full release. Honestly, it is a little bit concerning, but hopefully they can pull it off. And especially in a way that pleases most people. The first thing we will cover is something that I talked about a few videos back, and now it's more in the context of the aerofoil rework. Mark says, having to do major reworks on the way top speed works for the new aerofoils will allow for lots more flexibility in other builds too. Hashtag thrusters are cool. That hashtag is very important. Now, one thing that came to mind for me at least when reading through this, especially in the context of aerofoils, when they're reworking the speed. Ways back, if you would do a nosedive with the aerofoils, you would actually pick up a considerable amount of speed. But that feature was actually taken away, so if you nose down, you're still going to be going probably a little bit faster, but nothing too serious. So he could be alluding to that, possibly. Or it could be something else entirely. The other part of this is the hashtag thrusters are cool. And if you remember from the livestream video, the livestream recap video, that is, that I did, they talked about reworking thrusters. So this definitely adds more fuel to that fire, and it seems like thrusters are definitely going to be getting a rework. Hopefully, again, that's not exactly confirmed by this tweet, it just seems like the pieces fall together too easily. I don't know. But what do you guys think about all of this? How exactly could they be reworking the top speed? Next, we have an update to that armor rework I talked about. And back then, it was just something Mark had proposed on Twitter, just getting his ideas out there. But now he says, okay, you win. Chassis normalization is going to be a thing. TX cubes also. Got a few other tricks coming as well. So, let's break this down. Chassis normalization. What he means by this is that every type of cube currently in the game is going to have the same armor and the same weight. And of course, by cubes, I mean the chassis cubes. This most likely will exclude rods and struts as well. But the reason he states for doing this is to make it so you can actually build cool looking bots without having to sacrifice anything. This is more so for tanks that have a really high carry weight, so why would you ever want to use anything other than a full cube? Hence to why you end up seeing a lot of really ugly block tanks everywhere. Just because it may look ugly, but it is technically more effective. The next part is the TX cubes, which stands for Tier X, which is also shorthand for the Mega tier. This of course refers to tiers, and for those who don't know, tiers were a thing. There used to be a tiered progression system rather than just a loot-based progression system. This was, in a way, intended to be the Megabot armor, although most people used it for other purposes, mainly because the armor itself was a lot tankier, i.e. had more armor. It was also lighter than regular cubes. However, it did have one drawback, and that was that it was 3 CPU rather than 1 CPU per cube. It was also fairly effective at protecting important points, such as gun mounts or movement part mounts. And the next part got a few other tricks coming as well. Hopefully this means that we are going to be seeing light armor, heavy armor, and TX armor, because it seems like he has been referring to the whole multi-tiered armor system. And that of course is light, medium, heavy, TX. Although, from what it seems like going through his Twitter, he is going to be cutting out the medium armor, because I believe he stated somewhere that mixing light and heavy throughout your bot will give you more or less the stats of medium armor. So why bother adding medium armor? Especially when they already have a third type, which is going to be TX. Now I kind of got a little presumptive there, and light armor is not confirmed. The only things we have confirmed are regular cubes and TX cubes, which until we get confirmation that light armor is going to be a thing, I am very concerned by this, because like I said, TX cubes are the lighter option, also heavily armored option, but they cost 3 CPU per cube. So this means if we don't get the light armor, it's going to cost you a ton of CPU if you want to lighten your bot. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty big concern. So fingers crossed we do get light armor in the game, giving us our 1 CPU option for lightening the bot. Another interesting thing that I kind of thought of when he says a few other tricks coming. What if we could possibly see a setting to select the center of mass, like an artificial center of mass almost, although more like a center of rotation, I guess you could say. Because if we don't have as many options to lighten the bot the way we want in order to get the center of rotation where we want, a way to manually do it could be interesting as well. So if you had camera controls, for example, and you select this exact cube to be the rotation point, then the camera would rotate around that point. I don't know, just a bit of a weird random thought that I kind of came up with on the spot. But what other things could we possibly see? You know what to do, type them out down below. Now, real quick, going back to the wings, we have a soft confirmation of when they are going to be out, and that is in 3 weeks from now. So that means if they're keeping with their current every other week update schedule, we are going to be seeing the wing, aka aerofoil update on July the 13th, which, as you know, could also possibly be the full release date. Alternatively, keeping with their July plan, that full release date could also be on July the 27th. So either of those two dates could be the full release of Robocraft. Or they could throw a curveball in there and change up their plans for the July full release date. Now, we come to the part of the video that many people, especially the older players, will be incredibly happy about. And that is, we have finally a release date for Megabots to return to Robocraft. The official Twitter put out this recently. They say a mega tease for a big update heading to Robocraft next week. Hashtag big bots are back. And of course, the accompanying image says Robocraft Return of the Mega. So it's pretty damn obvious what this is about. Megabots, rather clearly. They have actually been teasing this for the past little while, saying that Megabots were planned to come back, and now we have them nearly at our doorstep. I myself am very excited to see what new things could be coming to Megabots. How are they changing from the old version? Are there going to be many differences? Are there going to be some differences? Will they only be able to equip the largest weapons, or can they equip anything? Because as you know, they are for custom games only. So with that in mind, that means you could have a bit more leniency when it comes to building a Megabot, as you will be amongst friends rather than with a whole bunch of random people. So balancing is more up to the player that actually wants to bring their Megabot into their crazy game mode they've thought up, rather than being super balanced for the entire meta, as the old ones were. And personally, I thought the old version of the Megabots weren't too great. It led to some very boring and stale combat, if you asked me. But yes, like you, I will be eagerly awaiting more information. Hopefully we will be seeing that rather soon. But that will do it for today's video. Let me know what you think of any of these things down below. I of course have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.